So looking through all of your past stuff, it must have been really interesting to see how your style has evolved.
Or like painful.
What were your influences when you first started drawing?
Well, I guess my friends were a big influence on me. Like Dylan McConis, who's been my friend since I was in high school, little 15-year-old. And other cartoonists like Alison Bechdel and, don't let me forget her name right now, Ellen Forney. She's so great. I really love her work. And Jen Manley Lee, and there's so many, I can't even remember them right now, but like people who have the really personable drawings, because some people just have a way of drawing that's very human and easy to connect to, and like nice smooth lines, and there's just a human connection that I get when I look at their art. And so I've tried to also have a human connection in my art. And, who knows if it works or not.
So, have you always been into comics? When did you get involved, and what did you read when you first started out?
Betty and Veronica when I first started. Archie, Betty and Veronica. And that led to Sonic the Hedgehog and Disney Adventures, the magazine that just folded, which is so sad. But that, they printed Bone in there in little segments, along with some other indie cartoonists. And that was the first time I was like, Bone, what is this? Oh my god, this is great. And then I started going into comic book stores so I could buy more Bone. And once you get in the comic book store, then you gotta get this and that and that. And so it was always, comics were always very much in my life. My dad was really into the underground comics. And he had this giant hardcover book of turn-of-the-century comics, like the Sunday Funnies.
Oh, neat.
And it was printed by the Smithsonian. And I would spend hours reading that. And it was kind of bordered on OCD, I guess, because I'm reading this thing and I'm just like, I have read this so many times. I know all these comics. I'm gonna do it again. I don't know what I'm hoping to get out of it this time, but comics are very fulfilling for me. I very much relate to visuals combined with words. That is my preferred way of communicating with people and of receiving information. It's just, comics have always been a part of my life.
And you're a pretty prominent part of the local Portland comic scene.
I don't know about that. But
well, winning prizes at Stumptown and part of Periscope Studios, that's actually where we're at right now. So how do you find the local comic scene?
I think it's great. It's in my experience, it's different for everybody, but in my experience, the Portland comic scene has been a very positive, welcoming, supportive place to be. You can't walk down the street without bumping into a cartoonist. And so it's a lot of people who are in the same boat of struggling to do this thing that they're passionate about and then balance it with a day job or whatever. And everybody that I know is growing, and is actively looking to grow and learn from each other and get feedback. And Portland is where my art's really blossomed and it's gotten better. And specifically coming to Periscope, that's what really put a fire on me to improve. Because I'm in this room with a dozen other cartoonists, and they'll just come by and look over and they're like, why'd you draw it like that? You could do it like that. And you're like, oh. So in my book, once I actually started coming into Periscope, the art, I personally can just see it goes bing! It just gets so much better. So,
do you have any more books planned?
Yes. Yes, I do. I'm working on volume 2 right now, and I would like to have it by the end of the year, like the book, but I'm really behind my own schedule on that, so we'll see how that goes.
And these are all basically collections of your webcomic, right? How often do you put up new comics on your site?
Once a week.
Okay.
Once a week. And I also have other book projects as well, though. Like just today, I finally got my stack of comps for a children's book that I illustrated for the Museum of Glass in Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, cool.
And so that was really fun. I've never done a children's book. I really enjoyed it, and it's full color, and that's not something I could afford on my own, but these other guys, they could afford it, and so I've got a full color children's book that I
What's that book about?
It is, well, it's a museum of glass.
Okay.
So they had this exhibit called Kids Design Glass, where they took a bunch of elementary school kids and had them do their kid drawings, and then they gave it to their professional on-site glass artists. Excuse me, and had them turn it into real art. And so that they're giant sculptures of these kids' illustrations, and it's so cool. And so the book is a narrative of 3 of those creatures talking to each other, and one has just woken up in the Museum of Glass. It's like, what is this? Where am I? What am I? And it's a vehicle to explain to kids how glass art is made, how glass itself is made, what this exhibit is about. It's really cool.
That's neat. Do you ever envision like doing anything for Marvel or DC, like taking over a superhero? What superhero would you take over if you could?
I've always liked Batman. Man, if they wanted me to draw a Batman comic, I would do it. I don't know how much the typical superhero fan would enjoy that, however. But I don't read a lot of superhero comics, but I do like Batman.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for meeting with us.
Thank you for having me.
Again, this is Erika Moen. Her book is on our site and in our 3 stores and in stores all across the country.